Okay guys, this is Algebra 1 PACE 1101 and we're going to go over page 4 and 5. We're not doing page 2 and 3 because this is the basic stuff we learned from, I think it was PACE 1099. So I'm not going to go over that. That is basic reducing to lowest terms. Okay, so number 4 on page 2 becomes 4 over 7. Because 6 goes into both 24 and 42. 24 divided by 6 is 4, and 24 divided by 42 is 7. We're not going to go over that. You could do that page on your own. Page 3 is the same way. You're just reducing to lowest terms. And remember, whenever you are dividing and you have variables, you subtract your exponents. So in number 10 on page 3, your answer is going to be 4b over 5x, because that a to the first power and a to the first power are going to subtract and they'll go away. Remember, anytime that you have a exponent of 0, the answer is 1. So number 11, you should be able to get that one pretty easily. Over there on number 13, notice that your bigger exponent is on the bottom, which means your a is going to be on the bottom, because you'll do 6 minus 4, not 4 minus 6. All right, so going on over to page 4, and we'll start with number 1. So this is starting with stuff that we learned in the last book, and if you remember, I told you that it was going to add on, and I know that this was the harder part of that book, but this is continuing on, and I'll try to explain it as best I can. So right here on number 1, what is the common factor between 8a and 8b? Well, the common factor is 8. So I'm going to factor that out, and it's going to give me 8 times parentheses a plus b. So then moving on to the denominator, I have 12a and 12b. Well, what's the common factor between those? And it is 12. So you have 12 times a plus b, close parentheses. All right, so this a plus b and this a plus b are the same, so they cancel. They go away. All right, and then reducing this to lowest terms, what number goes into both 8 and 12? That answer is 4. How many times does 4 go into 8? 2. And how many times does 4 go into 12? 3. And that is your answer, 2 over 3. All right, so we're going to move on to number 2. This one right here is the exact same way. It just adds a little more into it, and then you only have one term on the bottom. So that's, if you remember, a monomial. Okay, so what is common in your numerator? You have 9a squared b to the 4th and 9ab to the 5th. So let's factor out what is common. So we have 9 in both of those. So the first common is 9. So those go away. The next we have a squared and we have a. Okay, so your common factor is going to be a, because a goes into a one time and a goes into a squared 2 times. So that's going to leave me, fix that. It's going to leave me with an a, all right? So I got rid of that. And then I have a b to the 4th power and a b to the 5th power. Well, the least common is b to the 4th. So I factor that out. B to the 4th goes into b to the 4th one time, so it completely comes out and still leaves me with a. I'm going to bring over my negative sign, and then b to the 4th goes into b to the 5th one time, so that leaves me with b. So on the top, you should have 9a b to the 4th power, and that's all over 18a b to the 4th power, which is going to equal 9 goes into 18 how many times? Goes into it 2 times. 9 goes into 9 one time, so you have your 1 on top, and you have a 2 on the bottom. 9 goes into 9 one time, 9 goes into 18 2 times. All right, a goes into a one time, those cancel. B to the 4th and b to the 4th, those cancel. And then all I have left on top is the parentheses a minus b. And that is your answer. You do not have to put this 1 in there. It is understood. But if you have it there, it's not incorrect. All right, so moving on to something a little bit more difficult. We skipped number 3 and number 4. You should be able to figure those out on your own. And remember that if it's not separated by a plus or minus sign, then you can cancel it, like this up here. This is 9ab to the 4th times parentheses a minus b. So you can cancel whatever down here. But you can't cancel with your a and with your b because they're separated by a minus sign. They're 1 unit. This is 1 unit. This is 1 unit. You have to be able to cancel out the whole thing. All right, so we're going to factor right here this trinomial. All right, so factors of 12 are 1 and 12 and 4 and 3. All right, so our second sign is a positive sign. So if you remember, we talked about that in the last book. Our second sign is positive. That means that both of our signs are the same. Well, our first sign is negative, so both of our signs are going to be negative. Okay, so here I just have a y square. So that's just going to be y and y. There's nowhere to decide which place you're going to put those in because it's just y, so it doesn't matter. And so now, since you have a negative and a negative, your signs are the same, so you're going to be adding. And which factor, when added together, is going to give you -7? Well, that's 4 and 3. It doesn't matter where you put them in this case because your y is just y to the first. So put your 4 there and your 3 there, or you can do it the other way around. It's up to you. All right, so now we're going to move down here to the bottom. Again, factors of 12 are 1 and 12 and 4 and 3. Okay, my second sign is negative, which means that my signs in my parentheses are going to be opposite. Okay, doesn't matter which place you put them, that you can put them in either one. So what factors of 12 when subtracted are going to give me 1? Because remember, that's an understood one and a positive one, not a negative one. Well, when you subtract 4 and 3, you get 1. We're going to put our y's in place, and then we're going to put our 4 and our 3 in place. So what you have to consider here is which one needs to be the positive, because you need a positive one, not a negative one. And the answer is 4. I need my 4 to be positive. It's the bigger number, so when I subtract, it's going to become positive. If you need to understand this a little bit further, just do your FOIL method so that you can solve this and it end up like that. So y times y is y squared. Y times 4 is positive 4y. Y times -3 is -3y. And -3 times 4 is -12. Okay, so when I add my like terms, positive 4 minus 3 is positive y. Y squared plus y minus 12, and that is the same as that. That's how you know that you've gotten it correct. All right, so now can anything cancel in this problem? You don't have to do this down here. I just did that so that you could see it. The answer to that is yes. Y minus 3 and y minus 3. They're both exactly the same, so they can go away, leaving me with y minus 4 over y plus 4. Remember, these are separated by a plus sign or a minus sign, so they are 1 unit. The only way that you can cancel these is if they are exactly the same. And since they're separated by different signs, they are not exactly the same. So your final answer is y minus 4 over y plus 4. All right, we're going to move on to number 9, and this is the last one that we'll do on this page. So this first one here on number 9, you'll notice is a difference of 2 binomials. Okay, so what that's saying is that I can take the square root of a to the 4th, or I can, yes, take the square root of a to the 4th, which is a squared, and I can take the square root of 81, which is 9. Since it's a negative sign in the middle, I have to have 2 problems, and they're separated by a plus sign and a minus sign. Okay? If you need to understand that further, you have a squared plus 9 times a squared minus 9. When you do your FOIL method, you're going to do a squared times a squared, which gives you a to the 4th. You're going to do a squared times negative 9, which gives you negative 9a squared. And you're going to do a squared times positive 9, which is positive 9 squared. And then positive 9 times negative 9 is negative 81. Sorry about that. So negative 9 plus 9 is 0. So those go away, leaving me with a to the 4th minus 81. Hope that makes a little bit more sense. All right, so up here, we're going to factor out our common factor, which is 3. So I have 3a squared minus 27 divided by 3 is 9. Okay? So remember, this is a difference of a binomial, and this is a perfect square, and this is a perfect square. This is a perfect square, and this is a perfect square, and they're separated by a negative sign. So I can factor that out again. I can't factor this one out again because it's separated by a positive. There's no way to factor this out. I messed that all up. To end up with a positive 9. Because when you do this one and you do the FOIL method, you're going to get a squared plus 3a plus 3a plus 9. Well, that becomes a squared plus 6a plus 9. And if you separate them by a negative sign, if you make that a plus 3 times a minus 3, you're going to end up with this. So this right here is completely factored. You cannot factor it anymore. But you can factor this one again, because when you do, you're going to come up with a plus 3 times a minus 3. When you do the FOIL method, a squared minus 3a plus 3a minus 9. Negative 3a plus 3a is 0. Those go away, leaving me with a squared minus 9. That looks just like that. It also looks like that. So I'm going to factor that out again. I'm going to have a squared plus 9 times a plus 3 times a minus 3. And then on the bottom, I'll have the same thing. Okay? So this is the same and this is the same, so they cancel. And it leaves me with a squared plus 9 over 3. And that is your answer. Now, some of you are probably asking, why did I have to do this step? Why couldn't I just cancel these? You can. They're exactly the same. But in the last book, this concept and this concept, factoring that back out again, was not clear. So I wanted to factor it out again. I wanted you to think about why you can factor a squared minus 9 but not a squared plus 9. So yes, absolutely, those are the same. You could cancel them out. You could have skipped this step altogether, and you could have come up with a squared plus 9 over 3 from this point. But we went there so that you could see the factoring again. All right, so I hope this helps. You should be able to do number 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, and 12 on your own.